Our story begins at the school entrance ceremony, where our protagonist sees the one he has loved for so long, the one he thought he would never see again. But fate was kind and brought them together once more. Aomi City, a small town with just over 5,000 people. There, our protagonist, Kaguyama Hajime, was welcoming his goddess, Momose Akira. They had attended the same elementary school and were classmates, but they never talked. Noticing Hajime's excitement, his friend asks why, and he replies that he's going to make the most of his youth. In the past, he had always tried to talk to Akira, but she never responded, until she moved away. She was someone he never thought he'd meet again, and to him, she was out of reach. Yet, refusing to be discouraged by that, he simply enjoys his unrequited feelings. However, just minutes later, he is approached by Mamos, who wishes to ask him something. Completely caught off guard, he freezes, but she continues and asks, "What's your favorite food?" Hajime finally snaps back to reality, but can't believe what's happening. Could this be a reward for picking up trash off the street today? Nervously, he tries to think of a cool answer and says he likes banya kata, a fancy dish. But she doesn't seem satisfied, and silence follows. Suddenly, she steps closer to him and asks if that answer was true. Now practically cornered, he admits that, in truth, he likes omurice and fried shrimp. This time, Mamos looks satisfied. With a charming smile, she tells him that's one of the things she likes about him, that he hasn't changed since back then. The wind grows stronger, and Hajime, utterly embarrassed, is left alone once again, completely lost in confusion. Now walking toward a group of girls, Mamos is greeted with eager looks. Within seconds, her serious expression melts away, leaving behind a completely flustered and happy Mamos. She had finally managed to ask him about his favorite food. Her friends congratulate her, telling her that if she keeps closing the distance like this, things will be fine. Mamos then admits she was really nervous, and her friend asks if she followed the script. Pulling out a piece of paper, she reveals her plan for the day. This is the real Momose Akira. To catch Hajime's attention, she meticulously devised a plan. However, she is terribly clumsy and tells herself she needs to practice making omurice. Minutes later, Hajime's friend finds him and says he's been looking for him. But Hajime isn't listening anymore. Instead, he wonders if this whole thing means that, in reality, she hates him? She is terribly clumsy, and he is terribly slow. Now, he sinks into despair, regretting the way he answered her. What he doesn't know is that, little by little, he is being drawn in by someone who truly loves him. The next day, Hajime is feeling down, convinced that what happened yesterday was a complete rejection from his first love. Then, suddenly, Mamos appears behind him and asks him to come to the equipment room during break. She has something to tell him. Instinctively, he agrees, and she leaves, leaving him wondering why such a blessing was happening today. He doesn't remember doing anything good to earn this karma. Now back in her seat, Mamos rereads her plan for the day, trembling more nervously than ever. The idea is to make his heart race with a little physical contact. Calm down, Mamos. I think you're moving too fast. Some time later, the scheduled moment arrives. Standing in front of the equipment room door, Hajime just hopes he won't get scolded. He opens the door, and the moment he steps inside, something attacks him and shuts the door behind them. A hand covers his mouth to keep him from screaming, holding him in silence as he wonders what the hell is happening. And then Mamos realizes she completely ruined everything. Her plan was to go for the classic, cover his eyes and ask who it is. Remembering her plan, she tries to say something. Pulling him along, she asks him, "Who are you?" instead of making him guess. Then, she answers her own question and says, "I'm Mamos." And just like that, she ruins everything again. Now in a total panic, she tries to remember other parts of the plan. Turning him around, she now wants to whisper in his ear and ask what his favorite animal is. However, instead of saying she likes cats, she blurts out, "Gatta-chan?" But Hajime recalls that she had just said she was Mamos earlier, and she ruins her plan again. He then notices how red she is and, worried, accidentally touches her, asking if she's feeling unwell. She freezes. Seconds later, he realizes what he did and quickly apologizes. But with so many things happening outside the original plan, Mamos suddenly dashes out of the room. Left alone once again, Hajime wonders what the hell he did. He must have scared her, right? Meanwhile, outside, Mamos is completely flushed, her heart pounding like never before. Later, venting to his friend, Hajime wonders if she now truly hates him. He simply has no idea. That evening, it's reported that a bear woke up from hibernation and left its mark on a tree. And right beside that mark, an old man was sleeping peacefully. Seeing this, Hajime rushes to the old man and calls his mother, saying that old man Miyazawa is dead. But the old man wakes up and says he's not dead at all, that this is the 4th time Hajime has woken him up like this year. But Hajime insists that this time, he really thought he was dead. The next day at school, Hajime tells his friend that he sometimes acts impulsively and that he ruined everything again. Unsurprised, his friend tells him that he always does things like that. Back in middle school, he was constantly teased for it. But even Hajime didn't know that. And now, he tells his friend that he should have told him before. His friend continues, saying that maybe that's why Mamos doesn't like him, because he's so impulsive about everything. And with Hajime already feeling defeated, he says that if he keeps this up, he'll never be able to date Mamos. Then, he asks if Hajime wants that. But after hearing this, Hajime quickly composes himself and says that he doesn't want that. But then he immediately loses control again and says, Mamos is a transcendental goddess. He remembers a time when he tried to talk to her, but she just stared at him like a goddess, and his friend pointed out that, in reality, he was the only one talking. Completely unaware, Hajime insists that it wasn't like that at all. Until, on his way home, Mamos appears again, now holding a wedding magazine, leaving him utterly confused. Surprised, he wonders why she's carrying such a magazine. Mamos then steps closer to him and, pointing at the Japanese word akaramani, asks him to read it. But she was so close that he couldn't even think properly, making him wonder if she was mad at him. Unable to handle the pressure, he asks her to wait a second. And so, her plan to make him say her first name, Akira, fails. Success would have led to a smile from her, which would then complete the second step of her plan, leaving him emotional. But with the first step failing, everything failed. Mamos panics again, now without her script, and repeats the first syllable of her name. Hajime, completely lost, wonders if she's just trying to start a conversation. Going with that idea, he asks if she knew that wedding dresses used to be black. After that, nothing remains but an unsettling silence. He realizes he might have ruined everything. He wonders if he picked the wrong topic. But the truth is that she froze because he actually talked to her. This reminds him of their childhood, back in elementary school, when he tried desperately to talk to her. He gets lost in his thoughts for a moment but quickly pulls himself back. He needs to keep the conversation going somehow. He wonders if he'll ever get another chance like this. Remembering what his friend said earlier, he gathers his courage and says he's happy they're in the same school again. Nervously, Hajime panics and adds that they're in different classes and only see each other at the school gates. However, Mamos corrects him, saying that she actually went to a different school. Shocked, he confusedly asks if they didn't walk home together. But Mamos explains that, on her way back, she used to head toward her grandmother's house, until she was transferred. The missing pieces in Hajime's memory fall into place, and he finally understands why he never saw her at school before, only on the way home. But unable to believe it, he jokingly says that was a great prank from her. Yet, Mamos was just as shocked. He tries to justify himself, but to break the awkward tension, a baby boar suddenly appears from the bushes. They both find it incredibly cute. However, Hajime immediately remembers that where there's a baby boar, there's also a mother boar nearby. Without thinking, he grabs Momos' hand and runs away. He quickly explains that people actually die from this kind of situation, and only then does he realize he's still holding her hand. After so many embarrassing events, Hajime can only apologize and die of shame. Mamos remembers those moments. The time little Hajime spoke to little Mamos. His very first question was whether she liked to eat, which was met with silence. She ignored him and kept walking, but he ran up ahead, introduced himself as Kaguyama Hajime, and said he loved fried shrimp and omuris. At school, Mamos was always alone, but outside of it, Hajime was always trying to talk to her. For some reason, the other girls were afraid to approach her since she was always so quiet. But Hajime never felt that way. He kept coming back with more and more questions, always with enthusiasm. And little by little, something began to awaken inside little Momose Akira. Back in the present, Mamos quickens her pace and rushes past Hajime, who can only apologize again, thinking he scared her. However, looking at Hajime falling behind, Mamos didn't feel uncomfortable at all. She was completely in love. And though they have their differences, their story will continue moving forward until they reach the result they both desire. Now, with the sound of the janitor watering the plants and greeting them, a new day begins, where everyone will have to take a physical aptitude test. Hajime, however, is focused on something else, Momos' new ponytail hairstyle. He focuses so much on it that he knocks himself out. Later, during the preparation phase, Hajime is still thinking about how he was knocked out by Momos' ponytail, while his friend keeps telling him to hurry up and throw the ball. Suddenly, he hears the voices of Momos' friends cheering her on as she aims for first place in all the tests. Hajime is dazzled by her beauty and determination. The girl who entered the school as the top student was now aiming to be #1 in sports as well. However, in the first throwing test, she fails, only managing to throw the ball a mere 30 centimeters. She also fails in the third test, the long jump, reaching only 21 centimeters. And in the fourth test, horizontal jumps, she only manages 6 jumps. Hajime watches all of this closely and sees Mamos fall. She was frustrated. She had expected to be the best of the year. While one of her friends comforts her, the other tells her the harsh truth. She may be good at academics, but her physical abilities are close to zero. But that wasn't enough to break her spirit. She stands up, more determined than ever to reach her goals. Then, it's the boy's turn. Hajime throws the ball in the first test without even looking, because he was too busy admiring Momos' determination. Without realizing it, he throws the ball at 100 kilometers per hour, breaking the school record of 60 meters. Still thinking about Mamos, he performs the second test and jumps 6.55 meters, making the students think he was a professional. And he doesn't stop there. He breaks yet another school record. Now, relaxing, he keeps talking about how amazing Mamos is, making his friend wonder if he's serious. He then asks why someone so athletic doesn't join any clubs. Simply put, he doesn't like pain. He gave up on sports after fainting while playing dodgeball in second year. That's why he finds it incredible that Mamos can push herself in something she's not good at. Once again, he reaffirms to himself that there is no one else like her in the world. Moments later, the teacher asks him to remeasure his sit-and-reach flexibility test. Apparently, there was a mistake, and his results were left blank. Coincidentally, the person handling the equipment for this was Mamos, and they were left alone in the gym to sort it out. Alone with her, Hajime can't help but wonder what kind of situation this is. He can't even imagine being measured by Mamos. Embarrassed, he says he's counting on her. With a more serious expression than she had during the sports tests, Mamos firmly declares that she will push his back. Seeing her make such a determined face fills him with motivation. But in reality, this was part of her plan for today, to hug him from behind. She was trembling with nerves. However, completely unaware of this, Hajime also intends to give his all in this test. As she moves behind him, Mamos pushes him, but in a way neither of them expected. She quickly fails. But Hajime's determination isn't over yet, and he asks her to push harder. Suddenly turning back, he nearly kisses Mamos, catching her off guard. However, her reflexes kick in, and she immediately turns his head away. Not realizing what had just happened, Hajime assumes she's mad at him and promises to try harder in the test, causing her to turn his head again. At that moment, she was blushing more than ever, and due to this, she kept holding his head, preventing him from turning again, resulting in a small accident. After that, he spent the entire day with a stiff neck, unable to move. Days later, the long-awaited cooking day arrives, and the girls are in charge of making cookies. Mamos is radiating an aura of determination like never before, which even scares two of her few friends, Mimi and Kinchan. They ask why she's so fired up, and in response, she unveils a board detailing the entire cookie-making process, along with various utensils and recipes. She's completely prepared. Mimi and Kei-chan are stunned by how seriously she took the preparations, but they quickly realize that this level of thoroughness is just typical Mamos. Excited to see the results, they watch as she begins, meticulously measuring each ingredient with precision. Every step of the process is so carefully calculated, fast, and brilliant that it's almost lethal. Her friends, who had only been watching until now, join in and tell her to relax since they're the only ones who will be eating the cookies anyway. However, Mamos has a different plan. She wants to give some to the person she likes. After a brief silence, they can hardly believe it. Kei-chan immediately demands to know who it is, but Mamos just says that's why she can't afford to mess up. Comforting her nervousness, they assure her that everything will be fine and that they're sure she made them perfectly. However, gentlemen, after taking one bite, Hajime says the cookies are awful, leaving Mamos in shock. Her two friends, who had come to see, are also stunned, though Mimi less so, because she suddenly remembers that Mamos made a fatal mistake. Somehow, instead of confusing sugar with salt, as most people would, she managed to mistake it for mustard powder. Hajime, still looking at Mamos, apologizes but insists that he can't lie, utterly shattering her in seconds. Now in trouble for being too honest, he scrambles for an excuse but ends up choking. Mamos rushes to hand him a napkin but accidentally puts him in a headlock instead. Watching from a distance, her friends realize she's already panicking. Desperate, Hajime asks for water, and Mamos, in a complete panic, grabs the nearest faucet and throws the water straight into his face, leaving him utterly bewildered. Afraid of what might happen next, the girls prepare to intervene and help. But it turns out to be unnecessary. Hajime quickly recovers and says he managed to eat them all. Then, he asks if Mamos has any more. Realizing that he actually ate them, the girls immediately step back. Hajime tells Mamos the cookies had a unique taste, but he's happy that she made them for him. And given that he had said he couldn't lie, before Hajime even realizes it, Mamos has already fled the scene. His friend finds him alone and invites him home to play a new game, but Hajime wonders if he messed up again. Meanwhile, far away, Mamos is incredibly embarrassed. And my god, each panel in this manga is more beautiful than the last. Mamos, looking at the napkin she had wrapped around the cookies for Hajime, hugs it lovingly, and as if that weren't enough, she even eats the leftover cookies. Later, as she walks away feeling accomplished, her friends call out to her from the top of the school building and give her a thumbs up. That night, they confirm to her that Hajime is a good guy. Then comes the day the test results are handed out. Mamos is the first to be called and scores a perfect 100 on her English test. The teacher wonders if he made the questions too easy since she was the only one to get a perfect score in his subject this year. However, he warns that the other subjects will be harder. But when she receives her modern Japanese, math, and chemistry tests, they all have a perfect 100 as well. Even though the history test was made extra difficult with senior-level questions, Mamos still answered everything correctly, earning 120 points. Observing her, Hajime is amazed at how incredible she is, while on his desk lie the same tests, except with almost negative scores. Seeing this, his friend asks why he doesn't just focus on sports if he's so bad at studying, but Hajime replies that sports hurt, and besides, failing tests doesn't physically hurt, so it's fine. Let's just ignore the psychological pain here. The teacher then calls Hajime's name and says he's the most failing student in the class. If he fails again, he'll have to take remedial lessons. But no matter what was required, Hajime had no one to teach him. Or so he thought, because the next morning, he's greeted by Mamos with a stack of books. Sitting down, he wonders what this sudden situation is. Mamos explains that she heard if he fails again, he'll have to take remedial classes, so she thought she could help him. He tries to say it's no big deal, but Mamos is determined. She has a plan for today too. So, she asks if they can have a private lesson, just the two of them. Hearing this, Hajime is suddenly fired up and ready for anything. Excited for a brilliant lesson from Mamos, he's sure she'll be a strict teacher, but he's looking forward to it. Then, she draws a picture and asks him to name it in English. But the drawing is so bad he has no idea what it is. He takes a wild guess. Dog. Mamos pops a confetti cannon, leaving him momentarily stunned. He thinks he got it right. But he was completely wrong. Still, Mamos is determined to be patient at the start. She tells him he was close, and they move on. No matter what she draws, he keeps guessing wrong, but she keeps praising him, making him wonder if he has some hidden talent. She moves on to the next drawing, and he's confident, even after getting every single one wrong before. Panda, he answers. She's shocked. He got it right for the first time. But she was lying. Not knowing this, he tries to celebrate with a high five. And just like that, his goal for the day is achieved, leaving her speechless. But, surprised by the sudden touch, she smacks him in the face with the book, knocking him out instantly. Momose Akira was way too flustered, and right at the most crucial moment. Now, in the girls' locker room, Mamos and her friends are talking when one of them mentions she forgot her PE uniform. But Mamos is prepared, she has 5 extra ones. Then, another one realizes she forgot her eraser, but it's fine. Mamos has 20 spares. Even when someone runs out of notebook paper, Mamos is ready. Her friends are stunned by her level of preparedness, but Mamos, embarrassed, says she can't stay calm unless she has everything under control. Watching them from afar, Hajime is in awe of how incredible Mamos is for being so organized, while his own desk is a complete disaster. Until Hajime, amidst all that mess, found a letter from Mamos inviting him to meet her. Later, at the designated place, a lighthouse-like spot, with waves crashing against the rocks, there stood Mamos. This was a tourist attraction, and the sign made it as clear as possible why he had been called there, but Hajime didn't see it. Not that it mattered, because Mamos was fully prepared for today, and her list was long. But just as she was about to open her mouth to speak, a monkey, which had come down from the mountain in search of food, snatched her script from her hands. Both of them froze, completely lost in silence. Hajime was the first to panic and asked if she was okay and what the heck had just happened. He desperately tried to check on her and keep the conversation going, but without her script, Mamos couldn't speak. He asked if she was hurt or if she needed a handkerchief, despite not carrying one himself, and her panic started to build. Thinking she was too scared to talk, Hajime came up with a brilliant idea, taking her to the beach. His plan was for them to write in the sand with a stick so they could communicate that way. Nervously, Mamos accepted the stick and started writing, making it seem like she found him annoying when, in reality, she was asking if he thought she was annoying. Nervous, Mamos tries to write another message, but the water erases it again. Now, completely panicked, she tries to run away as fast as possible while Hajime asks if she really thinks that. However, she ends up hitting her foot on a rock and is about to fall straight into the sea when Hajime tries to protect her. Or at least, that was the idea, as they both end up falling. He tries to ask if she's okay, but when he looks around for her, he's already alone again. And there, already far away, is Mamos, drying herself off after getting completely soaked when she fell. She then remembers how he tried to hold her so she wouldn't fall, and a beautiful smile appears on her face. And that's where we'll stop for now. If you enjoyed this and want a part 2 or more videos like this, please leave a like and a comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. See you next time.